the top floor and at the very, very opposite end of the building from the church. And Samhain is the time where we feel closest to our ancestors, and it is a time to recognize that death and decay lead to new life and inspiration. We will light fires to brighten the darkness and banish fears. We'll share food and drink. Bring a dish to share if you would like.
Thank you, Paula. I want to add my welcome to that of Paula. And it's good to see you today. I'm the Reverend Dr. Beth Johnson. My pronouns are she, they, and it is good to be together. I just want to remind you that anything is possible if we work together. And the mission that we're on right now is to reach our desired goal for our budget. And we do that at our largest fundraiser, which is our auction. A group of folks have worked hard to bring this to you, but it's for us all together, and everyone has a role. So y'all come, right? Is everybody coming to the auction? Yay! You can buy tickets downstairs. No pressure, but if you've donated something, raise your hand. Oh, I love you. Good, good. Did you see the hands, y'all? It's not too late to donate. Just if you have someone or a store or business that could offer something to be auctioned off, you can do that too. So we're just really excited about, I'm excited about my first auction with y'all. And it's, you know, anything is possible, beloveds. So I'll invite you to take a breath. We acknowledge that we in the western suburbs inhabit the areas that are the traditional territories of indigenous peoples, including Kickapoo, Peoria, Potawatomi, and many others. As people trying to live into a more just world, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the history and legacy of colonialism, the harm done to Native peoples, and also work to repair that harm. We do this not to be performative, but to be transformative as well, as we discern as a congregation what might be ours to do. So, I want to just pause in gratitude for being here with you all on my first fall in 36 years in the Midwest, and to share this service with you. You'll hear more about it, and you might have read about it in news and notes. But this service begins a journey. You've heard that there will be a Samhain ritual on Wednesday, where folks in the congregation will offer opportunities to celebrate this festival, this holy day for those who travel the Celtic Wheel of the Year. You'll hear more about that. And I'm honored to be able to bring this service to you today, to just share in our loves and in our losses. And so, we gather today to honor our loves and our losses, to name those who have gone before, from whose influence we live. Let us honor them. We will call their names, inviting their presence here now, as we invite the spirit of life and the spirit of love to be with us in this time. In, through, and among us they are. We call upon the spirit of life and our companion in death, known by many names and no names, to be with us now. Be with us now. We gather today, heirs of the desire for wisdom, for depth, for meaning. We gather as the year spirals toward deepening darkness, as we journey inward toward transformation. Reverend Katie Romano Griffin invites us to enter this space of hope and community, to enter this space of sorrows and joys, of passion and compassion. Come, let us enter into this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and their wisdom beat in our hearts. Come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come, beloveds, come into this space. Come, let us worship. It is good to be together. Our opening song is We Are, written by Bernice Reagan Johnson and sung by Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's the second song in a suite that was more mournful. And she said that when she wrote this song, she wrote it in order to bring the ancestors present and to give a sense of hope. So I'm going to invite you to rise in body or in spirit. We are going to sing, it's number 1051 in your hymnal. We are. We're going to sing this part twice.
Our chalice lighting words are Scott Taylor. We light this chalice in honor of the history that holds and heals us, for the stories of heroism that inspire our own, for the loved ones long gone who helped us see our better selves, for reminders of those who paved the path before us and blessed us with advantages we didn't earn on our own. These memories do not live in the past. They carve the contours of our present. They are here today. Look, listen, let them in. May their light guide our way.
A Samhain story, and it's going to be on the screen, so if you want to if the little people want to stay in their seats, they can, and I'm just going to read it from here instead of up from there. It's called Little Moon's Samhain Adventure, written and illustrated by Nixie Foster. Little Moon woke with a stretch and a yawn. The moon shone down on a frosty lawn. Wakey, wakey, sleepyhead, it's time to jump out of bed. if anybody woke me up like that, I don't think I'd be too happy. As the sun began to rise, "It's Samhain," little moon cries. And so this story, when one year ends and the next year begins, the nights grow dark and the wind blows leaves in an arc. No more sleeps, no more sleeps, no more sleeps. I have to get a little closer. Mom, okay, let me start over. No more sleeps, no more sleeps, no more sleeps. Mom heard as little moon skidded through the door. Oh, wow, there on the table is the biggest pumpkin you ever saw. It was nearly as big as little moon is tall. A waft of hot chocolate fills the air, and Mom strokes little moon's hair with care. It is a time for snuggles and tales of times before, listening to ancestral lore. Shared tales of memories remembered, stories begged of the times when little moon was too small, and those of ancestors who came way before. As the last sip is drunk, the day begins with fun galore. Pumpkins are carved, masks are created, soul cakes are baked, memories made. But the most fun of all is when the sun begins to fall. The table places are laid and homage paid. Mom holds little moon's hand as out go the lights and they step into the night. With a tummy full of treats, little moon spots the bonfire that awaits. With their head resting in Mom's lap and the bonfire warming their back, little moon begins to drift to a world full of folklore, wonder, and myth. The stars above their head dance and images appear in a trance. Hooves sound like thunder as the wild hunt appears. Yapping and howling fills the sky. It is time. The wheel is turned and fates are burned. The leaves fall and the old year is no more. Storms, magic, and sudden change as the stars rearrange. Gwen jumps down and dresses in his holly gown. It is the time for him to finally take the Oak King's crown. Little Moon watches as the two kings battle, and quietly the queen begins to alter. The last of her cycle for this year, crone she becomes, the one most dear. It is time for the last of tonight's guests to appear. Please welcome the Blue Hag with a cheer. Now don't be afraid. She's not what you hear. She doesn't eat children, just herds deer. Powerful and wise, here to guide you through winter's cold and bitter, waiting for spring to arrive. A sleepy little moon with a smile upon their face, a story read as Mom tucks them in bed. And so the story ends until the next turn of the wheel. The end.
It is now the time in our service where we offer our gifts to our church home. For myself, this is the place where Tim and I were married, where our children were dedicated, and it holds a very special meaning for my entire family, and I hope that it does for yours as well. And if you're visiting or a guest, I hope that you can see the potential for that for you. So we take the offering to support all that this church does. And we say our offering words together this morning. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together, is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world. We now gratefully receive your contribution and thank you in advance for your generosity.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for sharing your heart in so many ways. All of you do. Invite you to just take another breath, and this time let it deepen. You know, in some ways, even worship is somewhat like traveling the wheel of the year, as we're going to talk about. We engage our minds. We move our bodies sometimes. We deepen into places of solitude. So it's an inner and an outer experience most of the time. Sometimes we're very out there. Sometimes we're more inner. And this morning, in a moment, I'm going to play a song for our meditation. It's a song by Enya, and it's called Evening Falls. The words are on the images, but if you'd like to, you can just close your eyes. You can just take it in and just breathe, just be. As we allow ourselves even to experience that turning of the wheel, the turning of depth, of innerness, as evening falls. As I've driven around here in this beautiful place, the western suburbs, and leaves were falling like rain. And then it reminded me of this song, too, as evening falls, all things release. And so this is a song of invitation, and it's a song of release. When the evening falls and the daylight is fading, from within me calls, could it be I am sleeping? For a moment I stray, and then it holds me close to home, I cannot say. Close to home, feeling so far away. As I walk the road, there before me a shadow from another world where no other can follow. Carry me to my own, to where I Again, I'm so grateful to be able to share this service with you, to name and honor those beloved ones from within our church community who have died since the pandemic. It has been my practice for 30 years or more to use this time to do that honoring, and for the past 22 years in ministry, to be able to offer space in a congregation where we can honor our beloved ones. And so in the coming year, it will be for those who may have passed in the year before, but since it's been a while since you've had an honoring or a naming service like this, I wanted to open it up. I believe that I received the names and most of the photos for people who I know who passed during the pandemic, and if after roll call I've missed someone, a member of the congregation, I invite you to call that name out, okay? You do that with me. We pause in the time set aside to share names and faces of those whose lives have touched ours in ways large and small. We do this, beloveds, because we are constituted in and through our relationships. An invisible thread knits us together. Those whom we loved here are in the very fabric of this place. Inside this building, in the living room, on well-worn seats, in the kitchen, of clanking glasses and dishes being washed, in the classrooms, children's voices heard, in offices, in meeting rooms, on the grounds of this place, in the gardens, at the conversation circle, in and under the trees. Even if you have never met the people whose names will be called, by virtue of the fact that you are here now, they live in you too. So I invite you to sing gently with me, gathered here, as we invite the Spirit of life to draw near. And we know this, beloveds, that one day your name will be called here, and you will be remembered. This place and we people have been formed by these beloved ones. Let us now open our hearts as I call their names and invite a bell. Albert K. Fisher. Joanne Crower. George Mrazek. Gary Knoll. Kathy Salzano. Janice Sejet. Mona Taylor. Their names have been called. Presente. They are with us. Take another breath with me, would you? Breathe. In addition to naming the members of our congregation who've died in the pandemic years, we will make a space for calling in and acknowledging and inviting the presence of those in our lives who have died, however long ago, whatever the relationship, whatever the species. So I invite you now to invite them, to invite the ancestors to join those whose names we've called and bring them into our space. I invite you to call the names now. Ed, pass. Okay. For the names spoken and unspoken, they're with us. They are here. Their legacy lives in your hearts. Having named the loss of our beloved dead, we are remembering well. We've honored those who have gone before, from whose influence we continue to live. And in doing so, we remember and we remind ourselves that for us too, evening will fall, our light will fade, and we will be remembered by those who love us and who will live from our legacy. And so it is that we honor our beloved dead, and we're reminded of love and the uncertainty of life. We're also reminded of the beauty of life, this break your heart, beautiful life that is full of tragedy. And yes, all that we love dies, and yet we continue for whatever time we have to live in beauty, to live in truth, to live in goodness. I invite you to join Paula and me in a litany of remembrance. And your response is, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down.
In the blowing of the wind and in the rains of winter.
We remember them. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring.
We remember them.
In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer.
We remember them. In the rustling leaves and in the beauty of autumn.
We remember them.
In the beginning of the year and when it ends.
We remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength.
We remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart.
We remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share.
We remember them.
Yes, we remember them. So long as they live, our beloved shall live, for they are part of all who have known them. We remember them. Thank you, Paul. We are invited into the cycles of life over and over again. Once again, I invite you to join me in that space of silence and honesty known by many names. And breathe. We are everywhere reminded that we live in and through the cycles of nature. It is at once a memory and a longing, a promise and a lure. As evening falls, it is the turning inward for recovered and new wisdom, the deepening of understanding, and yes, rest for our spirits. New moon to full moon to waxing moon, waxing to dark moon, dawn to noon, evening to dusk, dusk to midnight. Even in the breath, every in-breath, a little birth. Every out-breath, a little death. Every in-breath, again, a little birth, until our last breath. And so, we return again and again and again. That is what it means to travel the wheel of the year. And so, I invite you to sing with me, Return Again. In bygone days, when the light lessened and the dark deepened, our Celtic ancestors gathered together. You heard from the story they lit bonfires to celebrate the final harvest, to prepare for the long winter. and the beginning of their new year, which you've heard is Samhain. Now, it is said that the veil between the worlds is thinnest at this time. So that is why the ancestors are honored, just as ancestors are honored in virtually every culture and tradition that you can find on this planet. But Samhain, the precursor to All Souls Day, which wasn't quite enough, so they had to make sure there was All Saints Day. And then, of course, it brought us Halloween. And, of course, our beloved siblings who are of Latinx origin celebrate the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. We gather today, heirs of the desire for wisdom, for depth, for meaning. We gather as the year spirals toward deepening darkness. We turn the clocks back next week. So we get more darkness, like it or not. I know. And it is a time to journey inward. As I said, I've traveled the wheel of the year for many, many years, connecting with the tradition of my ancestors, evoking a memory of time in northern areas of Europe populated by Celts. When the dark overtook the earth, the land froze, and survival for one more year was precarious. Dressed in the skins of animals slain for the harvest, the final harvest, the people built bonfires, as you heard, danced to please the gods, created rituals of memory and wisdom and transformation. And so begins the Celtic Wheel of the Year. The year divided in half between dark and light begins in the dark. Kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Because when we celebrate the New Year in the Gregorian calendar, at least here in the West, it's already been solstice. We're thinking it might get light again sometime. But the year begins in the dark being the place of birth, of germination, of wisdom, of dreams. For those Celtic ancestors, it was a matter of survival, yes, and also living out the eternal journey that lives and moves through all of us humans, which is what I call the soul's journey. And it is this soul's journey that I will be inviting you into for the coming year. Every 6 weeks, traveling the wheel of the year, deepening into the learnings and the lessons, and finding a way to navigate the cycles of our own lives that don't necessarily follow the spiraling year, but at various times we need to let go, not only in the winter. At times we seek clarity, not only in the spring. At times we're bursting with creativity and passion, not only in the summer. At times we harvest and bring in, not only in the autumn. And again, we're called to release. So the Wheel of the Year, which I know you're aware of here because this is frankly the only Unitarian Universalist congregation that I know that has a permanent hole in the ground for their Beltane maypole. Yes. And we love the maypole. We love the Beltane, right, Dave? And we don't want to get there too fast. And that's what this time is about. It's a time to slow and to pause. So we know, we here are familiar with the solstices, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, the equinoxes, a time of balance in spring and autumn. And in the Celtic Wheel of the Year, we have what are called cross-quarter days. And Samhain is one. The next will be Imbolc, which for us, see, this is the beginning of, the deepening dark. For Imbolc, for us, it's the beginning of the spring quarter. So we see solstices and equinoxes as midpoints in the season. And then we'll have the spring equinox, and then we'll have Beltane, good job, which is May Day. And then we'll have summer solstice, and then we'll have Lunasa, which is for us the beginning of the autumn quarter. So that's how the wheel works. Now for me, I've been connected with the cycles of life since being a little girl at 4516 North Monitor Avenue on the northwest side of Chicago, in my upstairs room looking out at the maple tree that was out in front of our house and watching that maple tree, watching it full of those leaves in the summer, and then dropping the leaves, and then being a beautiful naked tree. And then, just when I think I couldn't take it anymore, the buds would burst forth. And I'd go, oh, okay. And then again back to fullness. I think my living through the wheel of the year came from loving beloved companion animals who lived and then died. My grandma, who died when I was in my 20s. And I knew that there's this cycle of life, but what intentionally living through the wheel of the year has given me is simply that, intention. It's given me ritual, ideas, concepts, an inner knowing, and the ability to apply the lessons of each season to any season of my life, as I mentioned. It was a time, of course, to build community, to sing and to dance. We will not be dancing today, but I believe you will be dancing on Wednesday. Is that right? A little bit of dance? Okay, maybe not. Well, someday you will, I promise. Really, this has been and is for me, and what I want to share with you over the coming year is a soul's journey. So, what do I mean by soul? And what do I mean by the soul's journey? Joseph Campbell, the scholar of mythology, in his conversations with Bill Moyers on the power of myth and that beautiful series, reminded us that all cultures have similar myths that speak of this journey. Whether it's the Greek Persephone who journeyed to the underworld where she comforted wandering souls, or the Sumerian Inanna, queen of heaven and earth, who descended into the depths and was first required to shed the trappings of her ego and identity until she was hung on a hook. We find it in the theme of return to the depths, in the cave or the cauldron, a place of memory reawakened. But here's the thing, and this is what we remember, is that Persephone came up from the underworld and brought a spring, and y'all, Inanna did not stay on that hook. For those who follow the Celtic wheel of the year, whether understanding themselves as pagan or Christian or mystics or all of that, it is in the cycling year that the spiraling journey of the soul is understood and honored within those rhythms, and that sense the remembering, return, and renewal. And today, well, actually on the 31st and the 1st, throughout the year as the wheel turns, I invite you to join me in an inward and outward journey for this soul's journey. It's the journey of the sacred spiral of life, living in the rhythms of the cycling years that both echo and beckon. It is at once memory and longing, a promise and a lure. At the time of Samhain, as evening falls, it is turning inward for that recovered wisdom, for deepening understanding, and for rest. Yes, I think I have said rest from this podium more in the past 6 months than I've said it in my entire life, because this is the time that we are encouraged to pause and breathe. How else can we understand soul? The depth psychologist Thomas More says soul is not a thing, but a quality, or a dimension of experiencing our life and ourselves. It has to do with value, with depth, with relatedness, with heart, with personal substance. The soul lies midway between understanding and unconsciousness. And it is an instrument neither of the mind or of the body, Moore says, but of imagination. Soul in this is not something separate from the body, but is something more. The journey is a journey toward wholeness for the self, for the community, for the world. The soul is consciousness for some of us. It is awareness of the self, small s, so that we live into the self, big S. The soul's journey on a meta level can be seen as awakening from the illusion of separateness, the illusion of need, to awaken to the knowledge of universal unity with all of creation, with the Creator, to become love in action, to be the manifestation of God or Spirit, to live in awe and wonder and joy, to serve life instinctively with commitment, to bring others to unity. For me, that's the outcome of the soul's journey, or part of it. Going deep and then moving outward to live from that fullness, to live from that depth, to live from the self, big S. It's a journey in some ways without a destination, a process of awakening into ever deepening insights, connection, and love. One person, when I talked about soul and asked what it was for them, they said, I like to be moved to laugh, to cry. It's powerful to be connected. And things that remind me of that connection are what feeds my soul. It is seeing me as myself, and that connection is greater than myself. This week, I found myself returning to an old friend, to the pioneering work of analytic psychologist June Singer, who is a soul friend, I did not know her, whose work early on informed my own Jungian thought. And she saw psyche and soul as the same. And she says, what is psyche if not soul? Soul is what makes us more than a pile of chemicals and a tangle of neurons. Soul is the essence of consciousness that enables us to know ourselves and our world, to recognize what is unique in each of us as individuals and what one of us shares with the immense totality of which we are a part. And so, this is the beginning of our soul's journey. Although I know you've been on a soul's journey for a while. Many of you very consciously, a lot of you, I would say. But I invite us into this collective journey, and even to offer opportunities for you to live that in our congregation and in your home. Maybe you be inspired, or maybe you already do have an ancestor altar in your own home. Mine takes up many surfaces, and I have an ancestor altar up all year round. So we'll be doing that. Maybe that's a practice that you want to bring home with you from today. I invite you, even amidst the busyness, the pain, the travail in the world, the great harm that has been unleashed and continues, a reminder that we share in the immense totality of all that is, that we take our time to be still, even as the world clamors for your attention, doesn't it? Does the world clamor for your attention at all, ever? Does it? Or is it just me? Because if you don't raise my hand, I'm going to think I'm the only one. Does the world clamor for any of you? Right. And it's clamoring whether or not it's Samhain and it's going to get dark. I am still going to have to wake up in the dark and go to sleep in the dark. Now, we know our ancestors did not. They went to sleep when it was dark, and woke up when it was light. We don't. We don't have that in this particular culture. There still are others untouched who do. But for us, when you wake up and it's dark and you think, oh man, I don't want to get out of bed. Don't. Just don't. Stay there for a while. Stay there for as long as you can. I know. You got to get to work, or the next responsibility, or the dog wants to go out. You have to let the dog out. Or the cat is walking on you and wants to be fed. They'll usually settle down if you don't get up. I know this from experience. But don't jump out of bed. And here's something, if you can manage it. Go to bed early. I invite you at least 3 times in the coming season to go to bed just as it gets dark. I know that will mean, what, now 4:30? I know that. I was thinking 5, but I know. But I invite you to just stop. You're done. You can be done. Just be. You might want to see about not having the TV on or the radio. Or for some of us who need it to focus, just allow it to be that background thing. You might want to journal. I do have an invitation to you besides staying in bed at least 3 times. I mean, come on, y'all. I am saying 3 times in the next 3 months, so you can do it, not in the next week. I invite you to journal. Here's another invitation. I would love to share your journey with you. If you are new to traveling the wheel of the year, or have done it for a long time and would like a partner, a dialogue partner, a guide, I would love to hear from you and meet with you. We could have tea in my office before dark. So give yourselves the space. And as we travel the wheel of the year, the next will be at the winter solstice. We're reminded to inquire what our soul longs for. And maybe that can be your journal question. Paula, am I actually giving assignments from the pulpit? I think I might be. If you journal, your journal question is, what does my soul long for? And just see what soul says. Remember, soul is from the depths. So journey to the depths, beloveds, and know this. You, on this journey, wherever you are held in love and mystery deeper than you can know. And you are not alone. Amen. And I love you. Invite you to join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of this community, or the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. And so we close with a recognition of all that is our lives. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and let's sing together. It is a yearning for meaning beyond that which the tongue can express. It is the quest for wholeness, the quest for self-forgiveness, for the spaces of quiet I've ignored, the plea of my heart for solitude, the meaning still to be found, hunger for peace in a world of conflict, and still something more. It is something only sensed in moments of quiet and solitude, or in the shared meditations of others. Perhaps it is in myself, writes Robert Weston, now so buried under the demands and pressures of the world that may be found, but only as I take time to listen for it and to let it grow. Let it grow. Amen. I invite you to come and see our ancestor altar, and I love your ancestors, but I invite you to bring them home and you can put them on your own altar. Just come on up. Thank you, dear Jamie.
What do you know? Come on. Thank you, man. Kathy, when Gary's picture came up,